Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Pompano Beach, this is Joint City Commission and CRA meeting of October 12th, 2023. If I could ask everyone to please silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate, that would be great so we don't get disturbed during the meeting. So please silence them or put them on vibrate. Let's go ahead and call the roll. Kervin, please.
Commissioner Fournier?
Here.
Commissioner Moss?
Here.
Commissioner Perkins?
Here.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Here.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Here.
Mayor Harden?
Here. If I can ask us all to please rise for the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, give us wisdom tonight as we consider the matters before us. Do the best we can for the residents and visitors of this city, and give us your guidance. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right. Tonight we have Mr. Assistant City Manager Bosworth is filling in for Mr. Harrison. Mr. Bosworth, do we have any changes to our agenda tonight?
No changes, Mayor.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to our regular agenda. Item number 1 is presentation by CBRE, the city and CRA's independent consultant, and approval of ranking order for invitation to negotiate ITN C-18-22, master developer for the downtown, and authorize staff to negotiate an agreement with the highest ranked firm. I'll go ahead and turn it over now to, let's see, Ms. Sybil or Cassandra? Very good. Ms. Lamassier.
Good evening, Cassandra Lamassurier. I'm the co-purchasing agent for the solicitation invitation to negotiate C-18-22, master developer for the downtown. I have joining me Antonio Pucci, who is the lead agent of record for the solicitation. The city and CRA issued a joint solicitation to select the master developer for the downtown in June of 2022, with responses due in October of 2022. Our selection committee met in March of 2023, and their purpose was to evaluate the responses and for the two respondents to make presentations. As many of you were probably in attendance and will remember, there was a joint public workshop with the city and CRA so that the two shortlisted firms could present to the public and we could gather public input. The recordings of those presentations were posted to the city's website, and we also created an email address, downtown@copbfl.org, so that if people wanted to provide their comments after the meeting, they could do so as well. The negotiating team then held multiple sessions with each respondent to gather more information in order to create a listing and ranked order of the respondents to be considered for award by the CRA Board and City Commission. When this special meeting was noticed, it was to approve the ranking of the two shortlisted respondents, RUDG LLC and Roca Point Partners LLC. We received notice earlier this afternoon that RUDG LLC has withdrawn their proposal for consideration. We want to thank them on behalf of the entire procurement team for their time in responding to the ITN. We are now pleased to present our recommendation to approve Roca Point Partners LLC as the master developer for our downtown. The city and CRA's consultant, CBRE, will make a presentation on why the negotiating team is recommending Roca Point Partners LLC. Following the presentation, our elected officials will have an opportunity to ask the respondent questions. That will be followed by public comments, and the public comment form that was included as the last page of the agenda does need to be completed because of the ITN disclosure requirement. When the public is ready to speak, you'll be able to provide that form to our city clerk, Kervin Alford, at his desk, and then come to the microphone. Kervin also has additional forms if someone needs to complete one of those forms. So it is now my pleasure to introduce CBRE, the city and CRA's independent consultant, to make a presentation. The CBRE team includes Leanne Korst, Michael McShay, and Clarissa Willis. And with that, I'll let them make their presentation.
Very good. Thank you for that. And please just always introduce yourself first. But before you all get started, could I just take one moment of personal privilege? I'd like to recognize somebody here in the audience I did not see earlier, and I believe that he's in the back row back there, our former mayor and current mayor of Broward County, Lamar Fisher. Yes. Also, I'd like to recognize former City Commissioner Woody Portier. And we also have former City Commissioner Ed Phillips with us this evening. Thank you. I'm not sure if there's anyone else I missed out there. Oh, Tom McMahon. Oh, former City Commissioner Tom McMahon. I apologize. Good seeing you, sir. Yes. And we have State Representative Patricia Williams. Very good. All right. Anybody else I messed up on? Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here, and please go ahead and continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, we are delighted to be here tonight and present the culmination of about the last 5 months worth of work since the public workshop in May. My name is Leanne Korst, and I'm responsible for CBRE's Southeast Region Government Practice. So this slide represents how we got here. And I think importantly, it starts last June of 2022, when the ITN, or the Invitation to Negotiate, was issued for the redevelopment of downtown and your community here. We want to share that our public sector team has issued hundreds of solicitations on behalf of public sector clients and entities, and there you see a number of steps on this timeline, but they represent really only the high-level milestones. A lot of additional work went into each one of those steps, and it's been a very thorough and fair process. So tonight, importantly, the work culminates in tonight's recommendation, which Cassie read just a moment ago. However, it's just the beginning of the process to solicit community and public input, as well as your feedback as well. So it's just the first in the really a next phase of the project. And this slide represents the steps of the ITN. Tonight we're at step 7. As we thought it was important to show the previous slide so that you could really see that tonight's motion to approve the recommendation sort of concludes the steps in the ITN, but it begins the next phase of the process to really make sure that what the developer is proposing is socialized and represents what your community wants. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Mike McShay, and I lead the National Public Sector Practice, State and Local Government for CBRE. And as Leanne mentioned, we do a number of these ITN types of solicitations all across the country, and at any given point in time, we have as many as 20 public-private partnerships ongoing across the United States. I'd like to take you to the next slide. It's hard to see this, but basically what I'm going to talk about now is that the summary of the two different proposals made by the developers. Different approaches taken by Related Urban and Roca Point Partners. I am going to talk in detail about the densities on the site and the financial model in a little bit, but generally speaking, they each have a mix of uses on the site: live, work, and play. Please.
Sorry about that. I should have mentioned also that we had this presentation prepared before Related Urban withdrew today. So you're going to see information about their proposal because we thought it was still important to show how the city staff negotiation team arrived at their ranking. Sorry about that.
No, thank you. So what we're talking about, Related Urban has proposed a development that 64 units of live work, a mix of multifamily townhomes, some both retail, hotel space, and a green space of about 5.8 acres. Importantly, it's about a $715 million total investment in the community. Roca Point and Partners and the Georgetown Group have, in summary, they are proposing a larger development, a total of a $1.5 billion investment in the community. And as we go through the process in the next couple of slides, I'll be telling you much more in detail about what they have proposed both financially in terms of the mix of uses. But they, in this particular slide, I think one of the important points to point out is that they have almost 9 acres of open green space. Next slide. So the next slides here, I'm gonna walk through some of the development concepts. And what I really want to emphasize here is that these are concepts only. You know, as these projects evolve over time, they change. The mix of uses will change, the design will change. And so I'd like everybody just to remember that these are conceptual in nature and they're likely to evolve over time. In this particular slide, what we have is related, and what they're proposing is a mix of uses that will occur primarily on CRA and city-owned property as it exists today. There again, if you look down the right side of the slide here, you'll see the various mix of uses. It includes parking, green space, commercial, residential, townhomes, live, work, and some office space. And it's, you know, a thoughtful design. Next slide. In this particular case, this represents what they are showing or planning to do in the MLK Gateway District. Again, it includes a mix of uses. That pink square kind of in the middle of the development is public parking that would be available there. And again, these pictures that you see up on the slide are representative design elements that you might see as they construct their project. Next slide. This is what they are intending to do in terms of mixed-use multifamily development. This would occur actually on the previous City Hall site. And both of the developers are talking about building now a new City Hall for the city as part of their development. In this slide, this depicts the mixed-use district, and I would tell you that this is where, again, the pictures that you see, the renderings, is representative of what might occur downtown, but basically what you're looking at is a place where people could spend time, enjoy their day, you know, eat at some of the different restaurants and so on, and this is what they're calling their mixed-use district. And then finally, there's a couple of renderings that I'd like you all to see right now. This is a conceptual drawing in evening. You can see that, you know, it would be a vibrant mixed-use community and a development that represents $715 million of investment. Another slide, a different view. This is, I'm sorry, that was just from the bright line looking, I think it's west is the direction. And then finally, the last slide shows kind of what the office uses might look like on the site. Next slide, please. This is the Roca Point development. And what I'd like to point out here is Roca has not only planned to develop on the CRA and city-owned property, but one of the commitments that they've told that they would like to make to the city is that they think that they would like to try to acquire additional properties that would make the development more cohesive and more complete. So you'll see additional development on their plan, but it is reflected in that they are thinking that they would be able to acquire additional property over time. So again, as you look at these renderings, these are conceptual plans, and this particular one illustrates what some of the residential project or property might look like or development might look like. There would be both for rent, for sale, and mixed income that would occur in the development. Next slide. So what I'd like to illustrate here is one of the things that impressed us with Roca was that they had done a very thoughtful design, including all of the necessary development that would need to occur on the site, both civic uses, and in this particular illustration, what you see is a mix of parking facilities. So there would be both public and private parking garages throughout the development. And we think that, you know, you'll see in the next slide that they've given quite a lot of thought to how the community could be executed in a way that would be, you know, realistic and able to be realized at the level that they're talking about. Next slide. to give you some idea of the kind of thoughtfulness that went into their development, this is actually the downtown. There's a yellow dotted line across the, or throughout the development here. This is what they're considering to be their downtown transit loop. Why that's important is because they really wanted to be thoughtful about how people would get in and out and around the development as it is developed. And not only did they think about the downtown transit loop, but they also thought about how they would get people to be able to commute back and forth between the downtown development that they would build and the beachfront. This next slide will show you different kinds of uses that I think, these are the civic uses that could occur on the site. One of the distinguishing or big differences between the two developers was the Roca Point Group had planned to build a brand new EPAT Larkin Center. And you can see that, they're just, as part of their civic uses, they realized that that's an important community element, and they wanted to make sure that they gave the proper attention to it. Bottom left corner is a rendering of a potential city hall development that might occur, and then they also have planned for, or at least considered, that there would be a new performing arts center on the property that would basically support community uses. I see you're ready to jump in here.
Yeah, I just don't want to lose sight of the Votech Center in the upper right-hand corner. It is an adaptive reuse of City Hall, but recognizing that education is a big part of any community development, and recognize that it would be an appropriate use here. Not everyone goes to college. Some folks go to trade school instead, and so they've incorporated that adaptive reuse.
Thank you. So this next slide will show you that Roca has really given thought to what a sense of place might look like. This is not a development for just building office space or towers that people would not spend time. In fact, we visited a couple of their properties for both developers, and just an important point I think to think about is the average dwell time in some of their developments is 3 hours. People go there and they stay and they enjoy the restaurants and the parks and the community at large. And so what they're talking about is, in their master plan, what they're calling their common realm. They're talking about a water feature through the center of the property. They're talking about iconic gateway signage that would occur. And then there's a host of other uses and opportunities for the public to enjoy themselves. And really, like I said, between the public art, the parks, the green space, 3 hours of dwell time is something that's common to their developments. So one of the things that was a very significant difference between what Related Urban had proposed and Roca has proposed is that this community is planned, as they have it depicted, to be a true live, work, play environment. In order to have live, work, and play, you have to have office space. And so through the course of the development, and it would come later, they're talking about developing as much as 800,000 square feet of office space on the property, or as part of the development. That will keep that'll keep the restaurants full at lunchtime. It'll give people places to go. It'll support the community generally. And so we thought that was an important distinguishing characteristic between the two developers. And so finally, you'll see here again, this is a little summary of what they're talking about: a central park, a new performing arts center. They would be activating MLK Boulevard, a new EPAT Larkin Center, adaptive reuse with vocational technology in the existing City Hall, entertainment, and common areas. So that's a little bit about both of the developers. And now what I'd like to do is turn over to Clarissa Willis, our partner, who is based here in South Florida. She's going to talk to you a little bit about our site visits of the different developments that we did for both Roca Point and Related Urban. Clarissa?
Thank you, Mike. Clarissa Willis, as Mike just said, and I'm a consultant with the Advisory and Transaction Services of CBRE. We asked each proposer for representative projects in order to do site visits. And a representative from the CRA, the city, and Mike and I went on site visits for both Related Urban and Roca Point. And first, we'll talk about the site visits for Related Urban. We toured Gallery at River Park, which is a high-rise rental unit building in Miami, which is right across from Marlin Stadium. It is a P3 project. However, it is not a mixed-use project. They have 1 and 2 bedroom units, and it's mixed income. We also toured City Place Doral, which is a mixed-use project, but it is not a P3 project. It's a large-scale mixed-use project that has some entertainment and not high-rise, but low-rise rental units as well. And if you go to the next slide, it shows some photos of Gallery at River Park and also City Place Doral. Now for Roca Point, we also toured 2 projects. We went first to the University Ridge project in Greenville County, South Carolina. We spent about 3 hours with the county administrator and his staff, and they did a wonderful presentation on Roca Point's development there. They had nothing but glowing comments about Roca Point. To date, Roca Point has completed their 2 buildings for the county administrative offices and a parking garage. And you'll see pictures in a minute. The buildings were beautiful. The financial arrangement for Greenville County is very similar to the financial arrangement for Pompano Beach that they proposed. Also, it's a very important detail to mention is that Greenville County wanted at least 10% minority participation from Roca Point, but they went above and beyond and delivered 22% minority participation, business participation. They've also signed Whole Foods as a retail tenant now, which is a big deal. Some of the comments were that they're easy to work with. Any problems that could have arisen, they dealt with them quickly and efficiently, and most importantly, they did what they said what they were going to do, they did what they promised, and they finished early on their project, ahead of schedule on the project for the county administrative building so far. They were willing to pivot, they are problem solvers, so there were nothing but glowing comments on Roca Point from Greenville County. The other project that we toured was Halcyon project in Forsyth County, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta. This is a 135-acre project. It is not a P3 project, but it is a mixed-use project which will be similar to the project proposed for Pompano Beach. It's a well-programmed use of retail, restaurants, office, and multifamily townhomes. They have a lot of public art. They have a lot of entertainment there. As Mike mentioned earlier, the dwell time is about 3 hours for that project, which is very impressive. And also, if you recall in their presentation in May, about 60% of the tenants, the retail tenants, are either women or minority-owned small businesses, which I think is really important as well. And these are pictures, some photos of University Ridge in Greenville, South Carolina, and Halcyon in Forsyth County, Georgia. Now, the next slide, we asked for references for each proposer, and for, we asked for 2 public sector references for each proposer. And these are some of the comments from the reference checks we did for Roca Point. Joe Cornell, the county administrator for Greenville, South Carolina, said these words, and I quote, "He has known and worked with Roca Point dating back to 2016, has never been a harsh word, descriptors, easy to work with and steady, and their approach could have been to cash out, but instead it was a partnership, maximizing county revenue because land would be worth more once it is built out." So I just wanted to highlight those for Greenville County, South Carolina. And then also we spoke with the city of Dunwoody in Dunwoody, Georgia, and some of the comments from their perspective were Roca Point bought it outright with no entitlements, talking about the project. It was 80% leased before construction started, and their vision was spot on with the market. And they were fast, quick, and professional. And I'll turn it back over to Mike to handle the financial part of it.
Thank you, Clarissa. So there was a very different approach in terms of the financial information that was provided by Related and Roca. And I'm going to talk now, if we can go to the next slide, a little bit about Related. Related's position was that it's just too early to know what can potentially be delivered on the site. It's too early to figure out all of the financing that might be done, and they wanted to take more time to do that. By that, I mean that, we basically asked them repeatedly if they would provide to us the financial information that we needed in order to be able to advise you what kind of a structure they would be looking at, how the revenues would work, the costs, expenses, and all of that. And to be candid, we just could not get that information out of Related. It took us the better part of 5 months and multiple requests, and we were never able to get it. So if you look at the slide deck, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they proposed. They proposed to develop about 2.1 million square feet, a $715 million development. One of the really important things to remember or to consider is that they were talking about doing a master ground lease on the property. They would not be buying the property outright, and they would be just basically leasing from you over time. That basically stretches out the revenue to you all over a much longer period of time, and that was just the structure that they had proposed. What you're going to see here, again, down the bottom, there's a lot of to be determines because we just did not have the information to provide to you. Contrast that to, and I can talk in great detail now, or a little bit more detail, about what ROCA has provided. Basically, ROCA is proposing to develop in total about 3.8 million square feet. It's a civic uses, city hall, retail, office, hotel, residential, both for sale and mixed income housing in a 150 key hotel. Now, the structure that they have proposed is something called a waterfall, okay? And the waterfall basically works like this. They are prepared to put money up front to purchase property from the city today, approximately $40 million. The waterfall works in that as time goes on and the property becomes more valuable, the city will participate in those values and revenues as the property is sold over time. Their waterfall suggests that the city will get 90%, they will take 10% in the first tranche. The second tranche would be 80-20, 70-30, and so on. So over a period of time, as the property values are increasing, you are going to make more money over time. That's important because the civic investment is about over $200 million, about $240 million. But the way that their financial model works, you all will realize over $200 million in revenue back to the city, both as a combination of what we have talked about, the waterfall now, but also in tax revenues over time. As it stands today, based on the projections that they've made, the city will generate $10 million of incremental tax revenues, new tax revenues to the city through the life of their investment. Okay, and that'll increase however your taxes increase year over year. They also will be able to generate through the millage rates, $11 million per year that will go to schools. So it's it's a very different structure than what we have heard from Related. When we met with the folks in Greenville, the county executive there, he said, we went all in this development and in this model. All of their public infrastructure that they invested, they expect to be repaid within 7 years, which is really remarkable. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is that this waterfall concept works. It worked very, very well with a similar public sector entity and something that you ought to consider. I'll mention just a couple of other things. One is that during the construction period, they're expecting 28,000 jobs. Now that's over an extended period of time. It's a development horizon that'll be 10 plus years, but 28,000 jobs during the construction period and 4,000 permanent jobs once the project is completed. Have I forgot anything? Okay. So the advisory team, the selection committee, city staff, we are recommending that you move forward and select ROCA Point as your partner with which to negotiate the development agreement over the next 6 months.
So, as I said at the very beginning with the timeline, tonight's ranking and recommendation is the first of a series of next steps, beginning with community input, commissioners' input. You may want City Hall placed in a different location than the conceptual plan. You may not want that much office. They will take your feedback and consider your feedback, and obviously there are financial implications of changing the plan and whatnot, but it's the first step in the next phase of the project. So along with community input, we recognize that local participation is extremely important. You heard Clarissa talk about the percentage of minority participation that was achieved in Greenville County. We think that's an important next element. And then the negotiation of the development agreements would occur, and this is an iterative process. You would be provided updates and feedback along the way, and of course, you all are the final approver of those development agreements. So with that, it concludes our presentation. And again, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to our presentation tonight.
Very good. Thank you for that. All right. Cassandra?
Unless you have any questions for the CBRE team before they sit back down?
We'll do questions all at once.
All right, perfect. Well, and I want to thank CBRE for their presentation, but I also do want to thank the selection committee. It was comprised of city CRA employees and also those that serve on the city and CRA's volunteer boards. They did make a commitment of time early on in this process, so I would be remiss to not thank them for their contribution as well to this solicitation. So if the commission has any questions for Roca Point Partners based on our agenda order, they are in attendance and they are available if you have any questions you'd like to ask them at this time. If not, we'll move on to the public comment section of the meeting.
Okay, so this is the opportunity for us, the City Commission, to ask questions of anybody, basically, Roca Point and also the the CBRE team. So yeah, this is it. Questions, Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, on the waterfall revenue sharing process that you did in Greenville, has it been done in any other city besides Greenville, any other place, or was that the first and only place where Roca Point used that revenue sharing process?
The waterfall concept is common in development generally. It's the first time I've heard of a city doing it, but as I mentioned, you know, the county executive in Greenville could not have been more pleased with the way it's turned out for them.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission questions? I've got this is more of a just process question. I guess Cassie, you can probably address it. So after this meeting, if we approve this tonight, then the next step is to get together and start negotiating a development agreement.
There will be multiple components in the next step because you have the community engagement, the community input, as well as your input. It will be a lengthy negotiation. It won't be something that's accomplished in a matter of weeks. It'll be the term sheet, which outlines the basics of it, and then the actual master development agreement. Both of those come back to you for approval. So that's the next steps that occur in the process. It's hammering out all those details.
Because specifically, what I was wondering about is the community input, the community engagement. Because I recall, of course, the meeting we had at the Cultural Center where we had both Related and Roca. They made their presentations, and then the community was there and actually gave their input. But I'm thinking that was nice, but I'm thinking more of a real, down and dirty engagement where you really sit down at tables and talk with folks and find out, well, okay, so now let's really talk.
Absolutely, and we'll work in coordination with Roca Point Partners because they obviously need to hear that feedback as well as us, and so that's something where we can do various types of engagement so that we engage all of the community since this downtown's for all of the city.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Further questions? Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple questions. With respect to what the mayor was just talking about, was there anything substantive that changed in the proposal after they heard the feedback from May 3rd?
There were changes that were made to their concept. One of the comments that had been made was with regard to considering the inclusion of a performing arts center. So that's something that was included. We found that Roca Point Partners, when they were provided feedback, were very responsive to our feedback, incorporating those changes and being very mindful of what we needed out of this downtown.
Okay. I remember hearing a lot about affordability, inclusion, diversity. So,
Yeah, it was probably a little hard to see in CBRE's presentation with the call-outs on the residential slide. But for those of us that have been doing the negotiations, they were proposing TOD as well as mixed income. They were also proposing for sale residential products. So they were looking at the full spectrum of residential, because something that came up at that May 3rd meeting that they took to heart was the fact that there needs to be housing to accommodate all income levels, not just market rate in this development.
okay.
Mayor, are you done?
I have a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
With respect to the selection, was it unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, so it was unanimous that this was the recommendation and this was the party to move forward with?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so this area is bordered by Atlantic Boulevard to the south, and we all know that Atlantic Boulevard has a lot of pressure on it right now. I see 6,200 parking spaces almost being added here. So do we believe that with this increased density that there's adequate infrastructure surrounding it?
By infrastructure for supporting
The
traffic.
roads.
I don't know if you'll remember if you call back to their May 3rd presentation, but they actually had a slide where they had studied the traffic counts, looked at what they were adding. They had also, we didn't show you all of them, but they actually had come up with a transportation plan. They were looking at the inclusion of circuit and other modes of transportation, as well as incorporating sites for Uber drop-offs or Lyft drop-offs, as well as, based on our feedback, understanding the need about delivery zones based on what we've experienced at the fishing village. So that hadn't been taken into account. And I do have to point out, again, this is all at a conceptual level. There'll be different iterations as our needs are fully discussed and identified. So again, everything is conceptual at this point.
Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Perkins?
Thank you, Mayor. I met yesterday with the CBRE consulting group and staff, and I'm sure all the commissioners met with them individually yesterday as well. One part I missed the part where you said you were going to build a new E.Pat Larkin Center.
They actually gave us the option for either renovating the existing Larkin Center or being able to build a new E.Pat Larkin Center next to the new City Hall, so that the two civic uses would be adjacent to each other, could share parking, and also have that civic common area that they were envisioning be available to both to use for the outdoor events. So it's at our discretion. Ultimately, we're the ones in the driver's seat to say what we need for our city. And so that's something that definitely will come out of that community input about, do you want to renovate the Larkin Center where it is? Do you think it'd be better to build a new one next to a new city hall? So those are some of the details that will come through the negotiations and, more importantly, the community input and engagement.
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly do not want to build a new E.Pat Larkin Center based on the new existing senior center that we have now that was just not built properly and doesn't accommodate the seniors. So we don't want to go down that road again, of course. But I'm very confused based on the meeting I had yesterday with the consulting group and the email that I received about the withdrawal for related group. As I read the last paragraph on the first page, because when I met with you yesterday, it was like they didn't submit this, they didn't submit that. I'm confused because this email is saying something totally different. So with that, I don't know whether the related group is here or not, but I would like to ask the related group to withdraw their letter and continue to negotiate with the city. Is the related group here? Is anybody here from the related group? Are you willing to withdraw your letter? Is anybody here from the related group? No one? Can you?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, how
Please
you doing?
identify yourself, sir.
Jordan Davis, Acquisitions and Development with Related Urban. We remain open, we always remain open to working in partnership with the city and the CRA. We specialize in public-private partnerships and public-private development, especially here in the state of Florida. And, we did have some issues with the process at hand, but should that process change, we certainly remain open to figuring out how to continue working with the city and CRA on this project.
So at this point, will you reconsider or rescind your withdrawal and continue the negotiation?
We would certainly consider it.
Okay, well, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we reconsider or rescind the withdrawal of related group proposal and move forward with the two.
So you want to make a motion that we, because
Yes, I want to make a motion that we rescind the letter of withdrawal so that the, reconsider, I should say, so that the related group can continue to negotiate.
okay, I think I see where you're going, but I'm not sure if we can take an action about their rejection letter. That's the
Well,
only,
he just said
I've got
yes.
Ms. McKenna waving her
I
hand.
think so that our record is clear. And Commissioner, I understand where you're coming from, so I don't want to question that. What would have to happen is Related would need to withdraw their letter. And then that would put them back in the same position that they've been in all along. They would be one of the two proposers. What you are looking at tonight, and the only thing you're looking at tonight, is whether or not to approve the recommendation of your negotiating team that we begin the negotiations with ROCA. The way it works is if Related were to withdraw their letter, then they would be in a position, if for some reason the negotiations with ROCA did not culminate in a contract, then we would go to Related as the second proposer in line. But that's the effect of them rescinding their letter. It would just put them right back where they were. So right now, it's just say hypothetically that you all approve our recommendation for ROCA. The withdrawal means that Related would not be in line. They've said we don't want to be in line. That's the legal effect of the withdrawal, that they are no longer the number two proposer. So if Commissioner, they would rescind the letter, they would send us in writing something that says we want to be reconsidered, we want to withdraw our withdrawal, then depending on your vote tonight, it would restore them as being in place to come behind ROCA should it not end in a contract. But we can't move to rescind their letter. We don't have that authority. What you could do, here's what you could do. You could say, and you don't need a motion for this, okay? You could just say that if they withdraw their withdrawal, that's something the Commission would like to see and the CRA would like to see. But I don't think you need any kind of a motion because it's up to them to withdraw it.
Okay. Okay, so let me just state again that this is a very sensitive issue in the Northwest. We've never had a project this big, and we never will probably in our lifetime. And as I stated in the meeting yesterday, this is a very sensitive project and we want to work with a group that's willing to work with the community. With that being said, we're building basically $1 billion project on land that was our history at some point. And all of that history is gone. And we want to basically work with the group that will listen to the community, which this city has not listened to before. So as we sit on this dais, and I look back over the years that I've sat on this dais, and I look in some of the faces of the commissioners, majority of all of your projects I voted for in your district. But for some reason, when it comes to District 4 or the Northwest community, we have a process. And there are things put in front of us that are not there before. So for me, I would like to see related group, based on this email, what they were saying that transpired, because I was thinking totally different yesterday. Today, I was just really caught off guard with a lot of this. So based on that, because when we met yesterday, it was just like, I was saying in the meeting, it was like steak and an apple, based on the two groups. But I did not have this information in front of me that you related in your email that had transpired. I didn't know all of this. So that is the reason that I'm asking you to withdraw, because I didn't know all this beforehand. And it's something to be considered. So with that being said, I just like for related group to really reconsider based on this email that I received and see if we could work something out.
I will bring that back to our president, Albert Milo, and like Ms. Claudia said, we can, if so determined, follow up in writing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Just,
I'm sorry.
Just,
you have the floor, go ahead.
How much did we pay the CBR consulting group?
CBRE is compensated a $7,500 a month retainer. However, upon execution of the development agreement, that money is refunded back to the CRA.
All right, thank you. That's it for now.
very good. Mr. Berman, I believe you had something you wanted to.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to point out that the email that the commissioner referred to, and I believe was sent to all commissioners, those involved in the process for the city believe that is factually inaccurate, and we stand by the process. And I just wanted to put that on there. I don't want to go through each and every one of those things that were stated, but I just want to make clear for the record, the email is not correct. Thank you, Mayor.
Very, very good, Mr. Berman. But because I was going to bring that up, I was waiting for Commissioner Perkins to finish up. Now that this letter has been brought out, I think it might be important for our team to go through and address the things in the letter. I understand what you just said, which is fine from a 30,000-foot view, but the letter is here. So now that it's been brought, okay, and concerns by a commissioner, Ms. Lamasia, do you have a copy of that letter?
I do have a copy of that letter.
Can somebody go through that letter and kind of address the points that are brought up about the process and about the
Well, Mayor, let me just say this. We can go back and forward with this all day. When I sat in that meeting with CBR yesterday and receiving this letter today, we're at a point now where we're going to be battling between who's the best and who's this and who's that. I get that. I just want to say yesterday I didn't have but one side of it, pretty much. CBRE was just totally for the other group. So I didn't know about the other group. I just knew about what they presented. So as I sat in that room, it's like everybody's mind was made up, and I'm looking at it and thinking about it, and it was just so one-sided. And then when I received this email, okay, now I get two sides of it. So, Mayor, if you want to take the time and go back and forward to bash or belittle this group, related urban development group, Go ahead, because I can, like I said in the meeting yesterday, I already know how this dais is going to vote, based on how they voted since I've been sitting here. But this is the Northwest community, and I would like for this dais to respect District 4 in this project. I've never had a problem with anything that was built on the beach. I don't have a problem with the new, I guess it's, well, we call it the Fashion Square. I don't have a problem with that project. I do not have a problem with the casino owls, none of that. But here we are in District 4, and here we are about to battle between two groups because of what CBRE was hired to do, and staff. So go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Perkins. Yes, I think since the letter has been brought out, I think it needs to be addressed.
I understand, and our attorneys would actually, from a legal point, like to address some of the concerns that were raised.
Very good.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me start by saying the letter suggests that our process was unorthodox. The invitation to negotiate process is provided for in the Florida statutes, 287-057. It's a procurement process that is used by government agencies throughout the state of Florida, and it's the one that we selected to ensure the greatest flexibility to allow the city of Pompano Beach to get the very best outcome. The steps of the procurement process were very clearly outlined in the actual solicitation document. Page 59 of the solicitation states, "The city and the CRA reserve the right to waive minor irregularities that do not materially impact a response." The letter suggests that there were irregularities. The responses were reviewed by Mr. Berman and myself, Mr. Pucci, Ms. LeMessurier, Carla Bird. We very carefully vetted both responses. There were minor irregularities in both responses that did not affect or impact the response. What the ITN looks for is whether or not a proposer meets the minimum requirements. Let me give you an example of a minor irregularity. The letter alleges that the Appendix H3 disclosure form was not signed. In fact, it was completed by Mr. Leonard, who's the manager of Roca Point Partners, but he disclosed that he had a direct commitment because he was a principal of Roca Point Partners. That's not who that form was directed to. It was intended to say there are other folks outside that you have made some kind of a commitment to. That's what the disclosure was. So the fact that it was irrelevant, it wasn't necessary for him to sign it because he wasn't the target of the disclosure. It just wasn't required, and it had no material impact on whether or not this particular developer met the minimum requirements. So what is important is that any irregularity was known at the time the proposers submitted their responses. At no time during this entire process have we ever heard that there was some irregularity that would rise to the level of disqualification. And that's very important. We have a respectful disagreement with Related Urban over the facts that they state in their letter. They are simply not accurate. And so the legal position that we are in is that both proposers met the minimum requirements. Any irregularities that might have existed were waived because they did not impact materially the response.
Very good. Mr. Berman, you care to?
I just want to add that had we gone through both sets of documents from both proposers, we could have probably, there were irregularities in both, as Claudia stated. They were not material, and therefore, at no time did Roca say or have any objection. At no time did Related have any objection. These were minor discrepancies of no significance, and quite frankly, they're not relevant to the determination of whether they were qualified proposers. As a matter of fact, some of the information that we had requested that was or would have been of significance was the financial information that we had requested from Related and gave them 5 months to respond and never did. But we still kept them in the game. We did everything we could to gather every bit of information that we could to compare the two proposals. So, I mean, if it's fair for one, it's fair for the other. And quite frankly, we were not in a position where we were trying to remove people from the process. We were trying to give as much choice to this commission as possible, and we did everything we could to keep both proposers in this solicitation. That's all I have at this point.
And if I can add, I'll give you an example of what is misleading. In the very first sentence, or the second sentence of the letter, it says, Related Urban has completed over $1.2 billion in public-private development in Florida over the last several years, semicolon. During the last 5 months, we asked Related to provide us with information about a public-private development that they have done that is comparable to what we are contemplating here in Pompano. And we did not receive any public-private development that is comparable. So we appreciate the fact that they do E3s, but we were looking for whether or not they had comparable experience. And part of the reason that you have a recommendation in front of you from your team is that Roca provided us with a comparable public-private development.
Very good, thank you. I just, so now that kind of clears things up and explains.
So Mayor, do you want to give the Related Group a chance to
I'm
rebuttal?
sorry, Commissioner Perkins?
You want to give Related Group a chance to rebuttal based on what they've just said and based what's in the email?
No, Commissioner. I mean, that's our legal counsel just advised us.
I'd just like everybody to take a look at the two attorneys sitting beside me. I've never seen this at a commissioner meeting before. Maybe this happened before my tenure. I've been at this 30 years and I've never seen two commissioners. And I'm sitting here looking at the public comment form and I'm like, required disclosure? When did we start this?
I can actually speak to that if you'd like. The invitation to negotiate had some provisions, and one of them was for disclosures required. This form's almost identical to what was provided to the public at the May 3rd public input workshop, and because of the ITN requirement, we provided that same form again. And it's not by any means to discourage anyone. We want anyone that wants to come and provide their comments, but it's because of the requirement in the ITN that we needed to include that.
All right, thank you. As I said, it's always a process when it comes to certain people. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. And thank you for that explanation about the things that were in the letter from the Related Group. And if the Related Group wants to rescind their letter, of course, they're free to do that. They're free to do that. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to make sure I have some facts straight here. So we put a solicitation out on the street, so to speak, and we're doing this invitation to negotiate. And these were the two top firms. And we have been working with this team for these two groups individually for the last 5.5 months.
Yes, our negotiation sessions began very soon after the May 3rd public input workshop. And we negotiated with both of the shortlisted respondents, held negotiation sessions, requested information, gave them input. They also listened to the input that was from the May 3rd workshop as well.
You requested information, all this that was mentioned earlier,
We requested references, we requested detailed financial plan, we requested agreements that they had with other public entities for prior P3 projects that they had completed. We also requested from prior P3 projects, that's a tongue twister, economic impact analysis that had been done.
So in other words, you were vetting these two entities. We're looking for a master developer that's going to take hold and see this project through to fruition. We hired CBRE to also do the financial vetting, which is what they do, and they're one of the best in the world at doing it. So we and staff, whom we met with yesterday, day before, whenever, have been working on vetting these two firms for the last 5.5 months, plus with our outside consultants as well. Okay, so, and you've through this process, you've decided, you feel strongly that the number one ranked firm is the firm that you feel comfortable working with, is what it seems like on its face to me.
The negotiating team, their recommendation to enter into negotiations with Roca Point Partners LLC, and the fact that when there were still two firms, that was the number one ranked firm, was absolutely unanimous.
Wonderful. Can you tell me how long, I'm a little confused about the next step. So I know the documentation, the legal bills, and I mean, we're talking a contract that's going to be about that high by the time all the exhibits are done. We talked about public input, I would say charrettes, correct?
Yes, community engagement.
Okay. And you know, this is not uncommon to the city. We've had many charrettes over the years from many different, the Atlantic Overlay District, the CRAs, et cetera, and the corridors that we've done. And I mean, we always want to have the public input because it's a city that we're building together. But so my confusion lies is with the contract, I guess enacting legislation, if you will, to borrow a term, and the public input. We're going to have the public input, the charrettes, then the contract is written. And I also would like you to clarify, again, a lot of this is conceptual. You referenced an ability to pivot, to solve problems, overcome, you know, to still move forward in a creative way, that you felt that
Those were actually quotes from Roca Point Partners references.
Oh, those were references. Those are the people who had worked with this group expressed.
Yeah, that was their governmental partner when they did their University Ridge project at Greenville County to build the new county administration building, and then the phase 2, I believe they're beginning shortly, and that's the non-public component of it. And then also they did a project called Campus 244, and that was in Dunwoody, and that was they didn't partner with Dunwoody, they did receive incentives, and that was Dunwoody's, I believe, their economic development director that gave that reference as well.
And you actually met with some of these folks as well?
Yes, the negotiating team did site visits. That was Suzette Sybil on behalf of the city and Nguyen Tran on behalf of the CRA, and they were accompanied by Michael McShay and Clarissa Willis from CBRE so that they could actually go do site visits. They did a site visit for 2 projects for Roca Point Partners, as well as 2 site visits for Related Urbans projects.
So your task and staff's task, CRA staff and CBRE, were to vet these groups and to see, you know, to make sure that we, as a city, as a whole, partnered with somebody for the long term. And I obviously, you cannot live in South Florida and not know who Related is. They're a fantastic firm. They've done incredible business. They're doing the Waldorf Astoria and here in Pompano Beach. I just read in the paper a week ago, and they've done Solimar and all over the country. I mean, they've done great projects. And I'm thrilled that you are here with us in Pompano Beach. Getting back to the contract, how long do you think that process is going to take? And
It would have been hard to see on the slide detail just because
Yes.
our monitors, and I know your screens are small, but when CBRE did their presentation talking about where we go from here, we're hopeful that we'll be able to do all of that community engagement, get their feedback, negotiate the term sheet and the development agreement, hopefully within 6 months' time.
10 months?
6.
6 months, okay.
I won't promise that because we're going to take as long as it takes to get it right, but that's the anticipated timeline.
Well, I feel strongly that it's taken a long time to get here. And this is something that's been on the table and something that I've wanted to see come to fruition. And, let's just get started. We can't let perfect get in the way of progress, or however that saying goes.
Say Perkins?
And
She called my name.
perfect. Oh, my goodness. Excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Please don't misunderstand. Perfect. What is perfect is perfection is the enemy of good. Or is there somebody out there that knows the correct? I did not say, I'm sorry, I said perfection. Do not let perfection get in the way of progress. Okay, with that, thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, no, first I want to thank both groups for coming to the table on this. The, presentations were great and, yes, this is a project decades in the making that we're trying to get to create a district in Pompano. And any city commission that gets to create a district, that doesn't happen all the time at all. And that's why there's so few top-notch developers who would even attempt to do this. So yes, I want to thank you, both the developers, for all the time, effort, energy, meetings put into the solicitation, for sure. I'm very excited to see this move forward. From the presentation, I was excited by Roka's real envisionment of a district, a new, honestly, it's going to be the heart of Pompano Beach. It's in the center. It's going to be the governmental station. It's going to bring everyone into it, which excites me a lot. And I also noticed a lot of tweaks made between the first presentation and this one, and integrating the transportation loops, integrating the Performance Arts Center, integrating parking ideas, and making sure that we can access everything and well thought out. I know we're going to hash out all the design details in the months to come and years to come as we continue moving forward. I was also very impressed with the waterfall financing plan, where it does help, get money out of land that we have owned for decades, some of it, and that hasn't been collecting taxes at all, so not really generating income to help then cover the costs of what we will be needing to put in is huge as we try and keep our budgets low and, millage low, and keep all our residents able to move in here. I like the fact that you heard from the community about having mixed-use options as well as for sale options. I think homeownership is something that so many people strive to do, and the more options we have for that is great. So I'm very much looking forward to moving forward with this and, creating just the new downtown of Pompano Beach, and it's very exciting. So thank you all for coming to the table.
Very good, very good. We'll all have an opportunity for more comments, but let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Let's get the public engaged here. Please come forward. Limit your comments to 2 minutes per person. Excuse me. And this is not a question and answer. This is input and giving us input on what you think. So, because we're not going to get into a question and answer session. That we'll be here forever. Yes, please give the form to the city clerk.
And as a reminder, if there aren't agendas or you need a form, the city clerk has extra forms at his desk. As always with our public, please state your name and your address, and then if you did indicate that there was a disclosure on your form, if you could please state that for our elected officials.
And as was stated earlier, that's per the ITN. We got to live by our own rules. Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, first let me say, you said you can't answer questions, so I'll say this. I'm certain that you did not ask the other company to withdraw from running, and so that's on them. Now, having said that, I did hear a lot of plus points. And incidentally, this concept of doing this started back with EPAT Larkins. We had seen many people come forward saying that they were going to be master developers, and they could not pass the mustard, so to speak. So now finally we've gotten a company, and I feel strongly that this company will pass the mustard. I feel that this company right here will do some of the things that we asked them to do. They mentioned vocational training. Yes, we've always asked for that. Everybody's mouthed it, and it never really happens. This company has talked about hiring minority local participation. And incidentally, I want to emphasize local participation means in our neighborhood also, not just in the rest of yesterland. So keep that in mind. I want to say, Mayor, that I found in my lifetime, my small lifetime, that some people can be good campaigners, but horrible, horrible politicians. I must tell you today that I'm a little disappointed that it is a perception that somehow you guys have decided that this is not good for the overall community. What I would rather have seen is how much we can muster this particular group to ensure the spirit of inclusion. If it's going to happen, then let's stop whining and make it happen so that we could be a part of it. Thank you very much.
It's Mr. Phillips. Just for the Mr. Phillips, just for the record, can you give your name and address?
My name is Edward W. Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street. I play basketball, ran track. I own a business. I'm an Omega man. I've been here the rest of my life, and so when I speak, I don't just speak for me. I speak for folks that are not here and who agree with what I say.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the applause, but please keep your applause. Thank you.
Mayor Vicente Thor, 1890 Northwest 6th Avenue. Mayor, I'm going to talk about this thing that we signing. You all want us to sign this tonight, and I hear what the general counsel is telling you, but you all didn't have this when it came to the decision on what went on the beach. When you all have all those other issues and other things that come before this council, this is the first time, and I do say the first time since you've been serving and before, that we done had to have to sign some document outside of just being able to give straight public input. That's what I want to go on the record with that. But Mayor, please explain to us, how do you do the outreach component after you all done selected a group instead of telling the group to come and see the neighborhood prior to you making the selection? And I'm going to say that, hold on, Mayor, I'm going to go someplace with this. When Commissioner Moss decided, was representing the first round of the casino, he had meetings with all the people, all the stakeholders. The owner of the company, the president, the father, at his behest, met and talked to everybody and gave his cell phone number out. Now, I know Commissioner Moss knows I ain't lying about that. So how come that can happen for him, and then in Commissioner McGee's neck of the woods, it's the same situation. The CRA make a decision, and you all fall in line and make it happen. But where tonight was that right given to us to say before you do a selection, and it seemed like staff already had their mind made up, and had before the regulated group even withdrew their situation. So to you, Mayor, under my little 30 seconds, did staff already have their mind made up on their recommendation before the withdrawal of their letter?
Yes.
So Mayor, I hope that you all recognize that that don't even sound right, that they had their mind made up before they even came to the stakeholders and said, work that neighborhood, have some meetings, and to the Commissioner Perkins, your motion should have been to rescind, not follow into the current motion to select, but give the board the right to do the selection and deny their motion.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please come forward. Just give the form to the clerk, thank you, and then name and address for the record.
I guess I'm going to have to talk fast because I only got 2 minutes. We usually get 3, but anyway, I like new cars, I like new houses. I would love to see the Commission Building and the EPAT Larkin Center, a brand new facility in the community. The stigmatism for MLK Boulevard, if you go anywhere in this country, is really terrible. When they think about it, they think about drugs, and they think about all kind of crazy things going on in our community. I think it could change the stigmatism of MLK Boulevard if the corridor is updated and upgraded. Okay, also, I would like business condos because a lot of small businesses don't own anything in Pompano Beach. Everything's being taken away from us. I would like to see a building built where at least some of the businesses can own their space. That's what I would like to see, so that our kids could see that we have ownership in our community still, because we're losing it. Okay, another thing is, we've had several developments come in this community that were affordable housing type developments based upon your income. And what's been happening is people have been complaining that they need security. The homeless are in the building, they're in their little corridors where they park their cars, nothing's being done. So whenever these people come and build, we need to ensure that our people are protected and that they provide security, because they've been asking for it for a long time. The building across Dixie Highway, there's a problem. The building over here off MLK, there's a problem. And these people are saying that the people who own the property, they're not putting any money into that, okay? And I also like the idea of having a training program on MLK Boulevard. I think that would be great. I just would not prefer a charter school on MLK. That's the only thing. Okay, and then the other thing is, a lot of times they build in our community, they claim they're hiring from our community, but we never get a report on that. So I would like for them to report to us who they're hiring from this community, if they say they're gonna hire, okay?
Just real quick before you leave, just your name and address for the record.
Mary Phillips, 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida, 33060.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue in Pompano Beach. This is an outrageously large gentrification project. I see one person that's born, lived, resided there her whole entire life. I think she is the one you all should be listening to. Commissioner Fournier was just elected last year. She is in that district probably more than any of you have ever been in there. And she's brand new because she likes to learn and learn everything, and she's a genius and learns things fast. Perkins is the one that should be making the decisions on what goes on in that area, not be pushing her around, telling her what's this and what's that. She's there, she was born there, she was raised there, and I think she's probably going to pass away there, if I'm correct. That's who you need to listen to. I have my opinions on this. We don't need a new city hall. We are fine with this city hall. We have a big building up there called the Berry Center, which sits empty half that most of the time, that we could put something up there to get rid of some of the people that work around here, and that up there. If it's empty, use it. We don't need, as far as I'm concerned, but like, it's her district, that Pat Larkin's building is only a few years old, if I'm correct. We don't need a new one. So a lot of this stuff is, let's just build. But in closing, like I said, she is the one you should all be listening to. It's her district. She knows it inside and out, and probably with her eyes closed.
Very good, thank you, sir. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. I've been sitting here listening, named Willie Jones, 712 Port Crescent Creek Lane. I've worked in Pompano for quite a few years. I serve here, go to service here. But I have listened to this project, the perfection not to stop progress. The question becomes, most of this project is going to sit on land where farmers, black farmers, were there. It's not a question and answer, but how do we protect the historical site, the historical inputs of those folks that lived and worked in Pompano? I have yet to hear that that part was going to be protected and or observed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that comment. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record, please.
David Hall, 290 Southeast 8th Court. Interesting to listen to this. I'm pretty vocal about development in the city, and I say every time, all the time, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. And this is going to be $1 billion project into an area that's been underserved, ignored for far too long. And the people who live in that area have to deal with pretty horrible situations in a lot of cases. We hear them complain about no security, crimes that happen, and things of that nature. For the city to invest that kind of money, it's not gentrification when you're talking about having really, truly affordable housing there, because you're not moving anyone out, you're allowing them to stay, you're helping them stay. You're talking about having businesses that are minority owned and people work in that area. That's not gentrification. You're not wholesale taking things out and moving it along and putting in people that look like me who can afford maybe, perhaps, not really, $6,000, $7,000 a month in rent. Can't do it. But regardless, I think those are the things that we should be concentrating on in this city. As far as building a new city hall, try to come to a meeting when everyone's still working, because you guys work late because you're closed on Fridays. You can't find parking spots. They're crammed in here. So take this piece of property, put it up. If you turn it into the vocation center, it's going to be taxed differently than free on the east side, which is going to generate more revenue for the city. You're going to go over to another area, build the city hall in an area that doesn't have the same tax revenue, which is better for the city, so we're making more money. And then all the money that we're going to make, tens of millions of dollars, plus throwing money into the school board of Broward County to be able to improve that, you're talking about a tremendous financial impact coming from a district that hasn't provided that kind of financial impact to the city of Pompano Beach, and now it does. And now it has a real stake in saying, we need some more attention because we're giving you tens of millions of dollars in revenue. I think it's a disservice. And as far as what's just happened with the withdrawal of that letter, there's a cone of silence around this whole process. And it seems to me, at the last minute a letter comes in, that cone may have been broken. I don't have a JD, so I don't really know that.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Further input from the public. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janine Jones. I'm a resident of Pompano Beach Middle. I work at Pompano Beach Middle. My thing is with this situation is, and just looking at the development that's going on around here, I hear y'all talk about affordable housing, mixed incomes, and so forth. And it seems like every time I turn around, I'm hearing this, but yet people cannot move into these places. They're too expensive, and then you're going by income, and to be able to move in somewhere and you're looking at that gross income and you're not looking at what they have outside of that. So I want to know, how are you really going to have people to move into these places? Because I'm looking at these pictures. No disrespect to me, but looking at some of the pictures, I'm not going to be able to move in one of them places. I'm going to have to make at least a good $75,000 or $80,000 a year. And working for the school board, I'm quite sure you know we don't make that much all the time. Now, the other thing is EPAT Larkins. I don't feel that it should be moved, but if you're going to upgrade the city hall, then you need to upgrade EPAT Larkins. You don't leave EPAT Larkins looking like he lost in the dirt and y'all looking like the millionaire. That I don't agree with.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please come forward. Anyone else? We've got one coming down. No, sir. Just name and address for the record, please.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. The Vice Mayor spoke about the Northwest District, District 4 being the heart of this city. This is the soul of the city. And I want to say that I have a 23, a 16, and a 3-year-old. And when I think about this project, I think about that 3-year-old and what he's going to see when he's 18. When I left to go to school and I came back, it looked the same. And this project coming forward now, when I looked at both plans, I didn't see myself in it. I didn't see my history in it. I didn't see my culture in it. I didn't see anything about what my family and my culture would see. So I would say to the developers who are selected moving forward, you need to do a really good job about getting to know the sacred land you're building on. Honor our ancestors, honor the people who came before and paved the way for us, because it doesn't look like it in those buildings. I've heard multiple times Vice Mayor speak about preserving what the architecture of Old Town. We don't have that. So what are we going to preserve over there? We need to be real serious about that, and not just in some generic building. There needs to be real thought put into that. The CBRE, if you guys heard about that Wheel of Opportunity, I'm the one that came up with that. So when you see that, that came from me thinking about what my community is lacking and what it's needing. So when you go around and start doing this community outreach, you need to really get with the youth, Because when we talk about who this for these generations moving forward, if the youth not at the table, how you say you building for them? You got to talk to them. And I just want to say, you need to do more developers, more engagement with this community.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate those comments. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Dodie Keith, I'm with Keith, 301 East Atlantic Boulevard. I shouldn't be at this microphone, but I'm going to be at this microphone for just a short minute because, I have to put on the record, I am part of the Related Urban Group team, so I'm part of the team that withdrew. And I will put on the record that I have worked with the Related Group and Related Urban for many, many years, and as all you know, and I appreciate Commissioner Eaton's respectful comments of what great groups they are and what great communities they've built through all of our areas in Southeast Florida and beyond. But what I will tell you in this process, from the very beginning, Related was not treated respectful in this process. And whatever you want to say about the process, I was in the process. I know it, I've heard it, there's a cone of silence, I couldn't talk to any of you about it, would have loved to call any of you at any time, wasn't allowed to. It's wrong how they were treated from the very beginning of this process till today. This is the second time I've been on a team that tried to win this district, that pulled out because the process was not treated properly. And you need to fix that for Pompano going forward. I can say nothing about the other team. I know nothing about their proposal. They're probably a great team. I have nothing to say about that. But I do have to say the city of Pompano does owe Related Urban an apology for how they were treated. If you want to speak to me privately to hear about that, now there's no cone of silence. I can tell you those things, but we need to fix it going forward. And the other thing I will point out is you did have a large selection committee of residents in the beginning of this process that got to see these proposals that came in the beginning that were supposedly equal. They weren't, in my opinion. It might have been legal. They were not anywhere close. Your selection committee was told not to vote. So I don't think you see in your package a recommendation from your big selection committee of residents that took their time to review these packages in the beginning. They were told not to vote, and it turned into your smaller group of staff that make the recommendation here today. I don't think that's transparent. Please apologize to Related.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record, please.
Jocelyn Jackson. I would like to start off with this body hire staff, you hire the consultant group, okay? You hire them for a reason. So you got to let them do their job. You don't bring them here and then you have a discussion. I know you have the sunshine law at hand. You know certain things you can say at the time, but it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, to see you guys up here and then you going back and forth with your staff, what they did, what they did not do. So it's embarrassing for the residents. Okay, at this time, we had two companies to present their proposals. Okay, the Related, they pulled out by choice. So at the end of the day, we got to work with somebody, whichever one, you guys choose as the body. The community has to work with them. It doesn't matter who came first or who came second. Whatever the decision is, we're gonna have to live with it. But what we do want, we want transparency. We want transparency, and as Sarah was saying, because my parents, they was migrant children, mom and dad, they was farmers. So we want to do all we can to preserve. And then I heard from what is it, Roca Point, that spoke about the percentage of working with the small businesses, and I think they say that county, that city was 10%, but they did 22%. Well, we're gonna need a little more than that, because that development over there is majority is African American, and we want to keep our history there as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Next speaker, please come forward. Public comment? Don't be shy. Just name and address for the record. Thank you. Thank you for your service, Mr. Rawls.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Commissioners Whitney Rawls, 550 Northeast 34th Street. Mayor, I happen to serve on the selection committee for this ITN. And I tried to take a quick poll of those members that I could reach out to see if we, as a selection committee, effectively made a recommendation. I don't have the time based on the countdown here to tell you the process that we went through, but I will say this. Of the number of developers that responded, we threw out quite a bit of them because for the most part they weren't responding. There was some materials missing from both of these that are introduced on tonight, but we thought that these two, and I don't want to speak for the entire body, I wouldn't say that, but I do recall we thinking that these two had the best opportunity for the city to move forward with, right? So we wanted to hear more, and quite honestly, a lot of them had a lot of missing information, whether it was material or immaterial. But we thought these two had the best chance for us having an actual downtown and for us having what the Northwest community could have over in there. I will say this, I always have an issue with process when the people are left out of it, because at the end of the day, we have to live with whatever's built over here. So I would ask you all, barring, the related, coming back with more information, if that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. But I would ask you all to table this, go back to the table, speak to both developers, and make sure we have an apples to apples comparison on what we actually need there in our downtown innovation district, and make sure that these developers are reaching out to the community. I think if you poll the members of the selection committee, all of us probably will give you some sort of the same message in terms of we officially did not select Roca. I'm not here to fight against Roca or anything like that, but we as a selection committee that you all selected did not actually make the selection, and that was done by a smaller team, which was staff. Now, if the ITN calls for that, then so be it, but we did not play a part in that process.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that input. Appreciate it. Thank you. Further input from the public? Please come forward. Going once. Any more input from the public? Going twice. Any more input from the public? Thank you very much. Public input is closed. Further commission discussion. I do have a question.
I thought you might.
Yeah, so on the issue of the selection committee vote, which has been mentioned a couple of times here, well, we did have a selection committee which was made up of residents, correct?
We had a selection committee that was made up of city staff, CRA staff, and some of our advisory board members that serve on our volunteer boards. And this is different than a request from proposals. When you issue a request for proposal, your selection committee is there to evaluate and score and create a ranking. In an invitation to negotiate, the process is different. And the purpose of the selection committee, because at the time we issued this, we hoped that we would get multiple responses, but we knew it wasn't going to be realistic for the negotiating team to negotiate with 10 different respondents. And so what was outlined in this invitation to negotiate, the purpose of the selection committee was to create a short list. And that short list was those that they felt should go on to the next phase, which was the negotiations phase. And that was their role in it. They were not asked to, per se, score and create that final recommendation. They were asked to evaluate the proposals. Also, presentations were made to them by both of the respondents, and they were asked to determine if one or both of the respondents should move forward to the next phase, and their recommendation was that both of the respondents should move to the next step in the process.
So in essence, they scored them the same at that level, so to speak.
There was a difference of opinion about whether or not to move both of them forward at that point in time, but for the purpose of having the most choice possible, they moved both forward.
Very good. All right. Thank you for that. Well, I just want to say thank you to all the folks that came forward and actually made a proposal. I know it's an arduous task. It's one thing to, if you're looking to bid out a piece of PVC pipe, it's easy. Well, okay, here's our price. 3-inch pipe costs this. There, that's your price. This is much more difficult, much more elaborate to dig into the details and try and give some kind of an accurate picture of what you're proposing. And that's really kind of what it is. It's a proposal that on the initial phase, it's a proposal from folks what they are proposing. Now, it's up to us. We are in the driver's seat. We are the ones who actually determine and decide what is going to happen in that area. And that's why the next step is so critically important. Well, every step is critically important, but the next step, in my mind, is really probably the most important for the community going forward, because that's where we get to start really having a dialogue with our chosen partner. And I'm sure, I'm sure everybody in this room remembers how long we have been working on the pier area down by the beach. We went through that process. In fact, that process we went through several times before we got a master developer. Finally, we did select a master developer, Tim Hernandez and New Urban Ventures, and that was our chosen developer going forward. But then we had fits and starts and differences of opinions, and we worked through the process, and there were many, many changes over many, many years to give us what we currently have today, which not everybody is happy with, but I think generally people are pretty pleased with what took place down there. But that was a process, and it didn't happen overnight, and it takes getting started first. And that's kind of where we're at, is getting started. I've been sitting up on this dais, not continuously, but since 1998. I've been serving in public office. And I was here before the CRA board was made up of the city commissioners. I've been dealing with this process for a long, long time. And this was the ultimate dream with the Northwest CRA. Many, many years ago. I mean, it's been over 30 years the CRA, Northwest CRA has been in existence, and it was always envisioned that, yes, we need to build something there. That's the only reason why the CRA has been buying properties since almost the day it was created, to purchase the properties, to accumulate properties, to give an opportunity to create something there really special for the city, but also special for that area. And that's what I've been working for years, because you can drive through different areas of Pompano, and you can certainly see that the area in the Northwest it's not up to par, and it hasn't been up to par for many years, and it's tough to change that, and we have an opportunity now to really move forward. I know there's, the Related Urban Group, they're a great outfit, and thank you so much for them, Related, being in Pompano, building their luxury condos, and also Related Urban for their interest in other developments in Pompano. I mean, it's a different arm of the same company, but thank you for them being here, and other developers. But at this point in time, we've tasked our staff with looking at this stuff. We have asked them to really evaluate things. We have hired the best experts in the field with CBRE to help us with this process. And it's an arduous process on our side too. And we could sit here and we could table things, and we could say, well, let's go back out again. And I understand, and Dodie, I love you to pieces, but we have been down this road before where we decided we're gonna figure something else out. Nope, forget it. We're finished with this process. We'll do it sometime in the future. The more times we do that, the less credibility we have as a city that we're serious about moving forward. We have a company that staff is recommending that we move forward with, which has honestly, I mean, they've got the goods. They show they're doing it. They're doing it elsewhere. And I'm hopeful that they're going to be doing it here. But we have to get over this first step of saying that, yeah, they're the ones we want to do it with. Now it's time to figure out, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, let's start dating. Before we actually get married, which we still have to develop a development agreement. So before we actually get married, we have to go through the dating process, figure out, well, are they going to do the community input, the community engagement that we are looking for? Are they going to commit to doing certain things that we want to see happen? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? It's only after that courtship period that finally we get a development agreement that will come back to this body with input from the public to say, well, okay, either we're going to get married or we're not. And if we don't at that point in time, then we'll have to go out and do this process again. But if we decide at that point in time, yeah, let's get married, let's sign a development agreement, then it's serious, because then we've gone through this process, and yeah, we have vetted them, they have vetted us, and we've all decided it's time to move forward on this long journey of $1.5 billion of investment in our Northwest community, which that is not an insignificant sum. And it's going to take time to get it done, but with courage and with persistence, we will get there. But you have to have the right partners, and that's what we have been working to get to this point, to make sure that we had a partner that we could at least start dating. And that's where I'm at. I want to see this happen. I've been working on this for many, many years, and I know change is difficult. It always is. And I want to make sure our history is preserved, make sure we have minority participation, we have local participation, everything that everybody has talked about. I want to ensure too. This is not just, okay, well, let's go out and put some pipes in the ground and it's going to be done. This is a years-long process, which, yeah, we will be holding people's feet to the fire, because it's going to be spelled out that they are going to have to commit to this and that and other things. And if they don't live up to it, then we can hold them to account. So I think this is a pivotal moment for our city. This is a pivotal moment for our Northwest community. And I think it's time we move forward with this. That's my opinion. Further commission discussion. Commissioner Fournier, then Commissioner Perkin after. Go ahead, Commissioner Fournier. Go ahead, Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. So to be clear, from a process perspective, we're voting today to authorize staff to negotiate with one firm. If we did not do that, the process falls apart, and initiating a new process takes years, a year, maybe more.
At this point, we are over a year and a half, actually considering all the groundwork before we ever even engaged CBRE, we're probably close to 2 years into this process. We've solicited for this before and not been successful.
So in the meantime, we do have acres and acres, 40 acres or so of land sitting over in the Northwest that we have accumulated to do something with, and it's not looking better as time goes on.
No, we have 74 acres sitting tax exempt in the Northwest right now, ma'am.
So it's sitting there not being used and not generating revenue. And the way I see it today is we only have one partner left right now. So for whatever reasons that whatever transpired, it's a little concerning to me to hear someone from the selection committee speaking and saying that we should think about tabling this. So that, from a process perspective, concerns me. But I think we end up in the same place where we have one partner who has been responsive, has, I think, showed their ability to listen and engage consistently, it sounds like, when listening to staff. And that's really important as we go through this process, because again, today, we're just authorizing you to negotiate an agreement. Every last detail has to be sorted out in this pile of documents, and I can assure you that I have huge hesitations about a lot of parts of this project. I have huge hesitations about City Hall. I look at the financials and I see $170 million of non-land sales of city portions of civic development costs. That is a lot of money. And I know the residents I represent don't want to foot that bill. So these are all things that will get sorted out as the negotiations move forward. And we, as a body, will have a say on each one of those items. So we have a choice to do nothing, or to at least kind of take this leap of faith and move forward and see what happens. Now, community input is near the top of my list, and I want Commissioner Perkins to know that this is your district. I know that, and I care deeply that this works for your district, because I do see that you reciprocate that to other people's districts. And that's just, while this is a citywide downtown and it's for everyone, it has to work for your district. So I want to hear what you have to say and your thoughts on this. But at the same time, we have a choice to do nothing or to give it a try. And I choose to give this a try with a partner who sounds like they can listen and they respond. They don't just react, they are responding to us. And the other thing I like about this partner, honestly, is they're not from Pompano Beach. I actually view that as a plus. So, just wait. So I actually think a fresh eye to what's going on in this city is not a bad idea. I think there's a lot of deals and history. I'm not talking about the history, but I'm talking about what goes on here. It's always the same group of people that get every contract here. It is always the same people. So I think it's actually, if they do the community engagement right, all we do is complain that the community engagement and you're not getting what you want. Well, maybe someone from an outside perspective can come in and do it in a different way, and maybe they can do a different job or a better job than what we've seen. Since we're not happy with how things have been done, maybe they can do it differently. So I'm going to, as I said, take a leap of faith and hope that they will, and hope that they, maybe being free of some of the Pompano baggage and deals that have been made here over the years will actually give them a chance of really listening to people without having a preconceived notion of who's who or what they're always complaining about or what they want. Maybe they'll actually be able to listen and include everyone's voices. So those are my thoughts.
Very good. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I listened very well to what you said, Mayor, about the pier, and I do remember going back and forward with that. I really don't see the rush because this is such a big project, and of course we want the project done right, and I just basically want to get an accurate picture of the master developer, which I do not have from neither. But when Ms. Dodie Keith walked up and said that they were not treated fairly from the beginning, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with anybody that's not being treated fair. I think we need the right partner. I don't think we should rush it. I don't think there's a reason to rush this project. I agree with that song that says start all over again. I really like that. And I think that's what we should do at this point, because I'm just hearing so many conflicting issues from both sides. I am, and I want to do this right. I want the community to be comfortable with the master developer, and at this point, I'm not. With neither, because I don't really know neither team well, or group well. So I think that we should just table this or try to negotiate something with the different developers and see where we go from here. But I don't think a decision should be made tonight based on what I've heard, and I know you're hearing the same thing I'm hearing, but I don't think a decision should be made tonight based on that. So if I am in order, I'd like to table it.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to table this joint, joint special meeting? To, I don't know what date, maybe just a later date.
Well, it's kind of for a postpone, you need to give a date, otherwise it's a motion to strike, but.
Well, let me see what date would work. Maybe about 60 days out?
60
Would that be
days, okay.
Christmas?
Postpone for 60 days.
Yes, would they put us around Christmas? Because we don't want to. Yes, I do. I have a calendar. So because this is a special meeting, we can have it at any time. Is that
Sure.
correct? Okay. Can we do it, say, the first week of December? Oh, well, no, that's not going to work because the Yuletide is on the 7th. What about the first Tuesday in December?
Okay,
We don't have a commissioner meeting on that particular Tuesday.
so that's December
That's December 5th,
5th.
6 o'clock?
Okay, so the motion is to postpone consideration of this item until December 5th at 6 PM. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and
Seconding it, yeah, conversation, because I would like to know what we're going to do, what the proposal is to be done during that time period.
So it's been moved and seconded to postpone until December the 5th at 6 PM. So, commission discussion.
Okay.
Commissioner Fournier or Commissioner Perkins, would you?
Yes.
Wait, okay, I've got our
Okay, go
legal
ahead, go
counsel,
ahead.
Ms. McKenna.
Mr. Mayor, before you enter into this discussion about this motion, I would like you to recognize Ms. Sybil so that she can address one of Commissioner Perkins' concerns about Ms. Keith's comments, so that our record is very clear about what has transpired.
Okay, Ms. Sybil, you'd like to make some comments?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. I also have great respect for Dodie. She knows that. We've spoken on several occasions. I've worked for the city for 20 years in the capacity of Controller, Finance Director, Assistant City Manager. I hope that I've earned the trust. I've worked with many of you one-on-one. I've brought forward many transactions to you. Sometimes, Mayor, have taken a lot longer than some would have hoped for me to bring items to the commission. That's because I take the fiduciary responsibility to the residents of this city, my responsibility to this commission, to make sure that things are fully vetted. I was on the negotiation team as well. And I think it's not a fair statement to say that this was an unfair process because we vetted this. There's certain things, I'm a very analytical person. I'm not biased. I'm not misled by certain things. I know there's certain components important to the community that we're going to have outreach. We're going to have minority participation. I know that Roca Point has also committed to working with local partners as well. They said that verbally and reiterated it through the negotiation sessions as well. The things that I look for is, as Commissioner Fournier said, is the financial aspects of the deal. Again, we fully expect the numbers will change, right? We have to bake the cake. We're not baking the cake tonight. We're not asking you to bake the cake. Sorry, another analogy. It's been a week of analogies for all of us. What we're looking for today is just direction to allow us to continue to negotiate in good faith with Roca Point. We have seen that they have been willing to negotiate in good faith over the past 5 months. They're willing to upfront costs for the project on the city's behalf. They're willing to share in the cost of the infrastructure components of the project on the city's behalf. They have proposed a financial model that has a proven track record in working with Greenville County. We visited that county. We spoke to them. They spoke highly of the model. That they're going to end up reaping the most financial wherewithal to them. They will draw down first when the land that the county owns, which is about 37 acres. So over time, the county is going to be able to receive those proceeds. Initially, there was a proposal for them to sell their land up front. I think it was $40 million. Now they're going to end up receiving the proceeds over time as each pad is developed. I know that Whole Foods has already signed over there, just as an example. So as they sell off each of these pads, they're going to appreciate more and more over time, and the county is able to draw on those proceeds. So they're going to end up making $200 million. The county, their plan is to pay off any debt that they've already issued over a 7-year time frame. So again, we've talked about multiple mechanisms. What we wanted to hear from this developer is, are you serious? Are you willing to put skin in the game to reduce the risks of the city and the CRA and the residents of Pompano Beach. We certainly know that the decision is in this is in your seat to make the decision in terms of what civic uses you want to see. Do you want to see a city hall? Do you want to see it here or there? Do you want to see a performing arts center? We certainly have to pay for those mechanisms, and you all are in the driver's seat to decide that. But if you decide you want to do X, Y, Z, and we finalize and tell you this is what it's going to cost to do that, how can we do it to minimize the risk to the city and the CRA and the taxpayers of this city? They proposed a model in Greenville County that's self-sustaining. That project is going to pay for itself over time. They're proposing the same model here. We vetted it. Your internal financial team has vetted it. CBRE has vetted it. We know the numbers will change, but they came to the table with a plan. Their reputation is on the line. They're putting skin in the game. So we just hope you consider, and just hopefully, having heard from me over the years, you're hearing from me again tonight, I am assuring you that we have taken seriously our fiduciary responsibility to this commission and to the residents of Pompano Beach in making this recommendation tonight. And again, it's just the engagement, right? We're not getting married yet. We're coming back to you with a development agreement, hopefully 6 months from now, we're hoping. We are going to engage the community. We've heard everything they've said. Roca Point has been receptive to that input. And we hope that you will just trust the process, trust the team, and that we're making, there's no personal benefit to me in making this recommendation. The work has just begun. It really has. There's heavy lifting to be done. And we are hopeful that this is the partner that will work with all of us and get us to that finish line.
Mayor?
And Mr. Mayor,
Ms. McKenna?
if I may, just to add to our record, because I think it's really important that our record is clear because of this process. The representation has been made to you that the negotiating team, of which Ms. Sybil was a part, treated Related unfairly. I am happy to report to you that each of the meetings with Roca Point and with Related were recorded. So if any of you were to have any heartburn that somehow or another somebody was not treated fairly, you can listen for yourself. I assure you, and on behalf of the entire team, I assure you, there is nothing but respect, professional treatment to all parties. There was, and every single communication, Mr. Pucci can attest to the fact that every single communication was in writing, and we have every single one of those writings. And what you will see in those writings is that they were respectful, they were professional, and they met the standard of integrity that should be expected by the city of Pompano Beach.
Very good. All right, so there is a motion and a second on the floor.
Mayor, I just wanted to address Ms. Suzette. Since you've been working with the city, this is the first time I've ever heard you fight for something in this city. And I commend you for that. Thank you.
Very good.
I'm done.
All right, so there is a motion on the floor to postpone this consideration of this item until December the 5th at 6 p.m. Discussion on the motion, Commissioner Fournier, Commissioner Perkins, so Commissioner Fournier, then Commissioner Perkins, and then back to Commissioner Moss. Go ahead.
I want to know what you expect us to do during that time. Obviously, you feel like that period of time, something will transpire that will help make a decision. So I'd like to.
Yes, like I said, I wanted to get more of an accurate picture of both sides. Basically, I like to bring them basically both groups into the community to meet with the residents and the people so that we'll have better insight of what they're trying to do, especially with the finances, as we stated earlier, and how this plans to be developed. I wasn't feeling this way, like I said yesterday, until I received this letter. So now I'm just, let me just get a bit better feel for it. Let me introduce these groups to the community and let them get a better insight of both groups. This is like I said, this is a lifetime project. So I don't see the rush to move really quickly on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that allowed legally with the process?
Well, they didn't, the attorneys didn't say anything, so I assume.
Yeah, we already did a public presentation by both proposers.
That was at the Culture Arts, yes, that was not in my district.
Interaction between the respondents and the community in the form of more meetings is not a step that's outlined. It was the May 3rd public input workshop where we were asking the public to provide their comment. The other is that once you select a master developer and you start refining the concept and you understand who you're going to try to do business with, you can have a lot more meaningful community engagement. I also would like to go on the record that identical information was requested from both respondents. Our goal with this, knowing the importance of this procurement, was to be fair and impartial in our treatment of the respondents, and I want the record to reflect that.
Very good, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Fournier.
So am I hearing clearly that during this time period, if we table it and come back, the respondents are not able to have community input?
No, that is not something that's provided for beyond step 4, which was the public input workshop.
Okay, and I do believe there was an email address. I've seen it in a few places where people could provide input since May 3rd. Was that particularly active?
It unfortunately was not. We announced the email address at the May 3rd public input workshop, and then once we put the video of the presentation up on the city website, we also put language and the hyperlink to that email address as well to encourage people to provide their comment, but we only received a couple of emails through that.
Thank you.
Mr. Berman, you had your hand up. Would you like to say something? Oh, Commissioner Perkins?
I don't want to interrupt.
Okay, good. Commissioner Perkins?
So it's legal and okay for both groups to meet in my community, in my district?
Mr. Berman, Ms. McKenna?
I'm sorry. For both groups?
So, yes, to give me time to have both groups to meet with the community.
The challenge we have is we've already asked both of these companies to come to the city of Pompano and make a presentation. That's what the ITN process set forth, and they've done that. So
There's
it's
also a cone of silence.
yeah,
Still
it's
in
just
effect.
it's not a part of the ITN process.
Yeah, but that wasn't, that meeting was not, I didn't have a part of that meeting. I mean, I didn't set it up, I didn't set the date or anything. It was just, I remember I was there at the meeting at the Culture Arts Building, and there was input. But I was there because someone else scheduled the meeting. Otherwise, if I knew it was just, we can do it again, I probably would have had more meetings, but I had no idea. Staff was running the show.
I'm waiting for, do you have more to address, Ms.
No.
McKenna?
No, I just want to be clear on what we can do and cannot do legally. I don't want to be out of order or do the wrong thing, basically with these two groups.
Yeah, I don't think your ITN process allows for a separate meeting somewhere else managed by somebody else. We have a process that we've put out, and we need to follow that legal process. It's a statutory process. So the time for having the meeting that you're talking about would be after you pick your proposer. Then we sign a contract with them, and that contract is going to require them to come to your district and come to each district and get feedback from everybody. That's the process that's outlined in the ITN, that we pick who we're going to work with, and then they're going to come to your community. That's going to be a requirement of the contract, that they engage in community participation. So there's not going to be any danger that the folks in your district or any of the other districts won't get to know the folks from ROCO really well.
Okay, excuse me for cutting you off, but my question is, we have not chose a master developer. How can I legally introduce these developers to the district where they will be located, is my question.
Mr. Berman?
Legally.
First of all, we've already introduced them to the community.
Yeah, you just said
through the
that.
presentation. What you have before you this evening and the recommendation of the negotiation committee is purely a technical decision based upon a thorough review of assets, financing, prior projects, and proposed concepts. We are not, you would not be, if you proceed tonight, voting on any building, any specific plan. What the committee has done is brought before you their recommendation as to who we think would be a best partner for us to start engaging in this process.
I
It's just
understand
the
that, but I don't feel, I'm not trusting that at this point based on the information I've received today.
Well, all right, go ahead. No, go
Like I
ahead.
said, I wasn't,
I'm not going to say what I'm going to
I was thinking totally different yesterday, you know, when I met with the group, but today with this email, I want it done right, and I want it done fair. And I want the residents in that district to be comfortable with that.
And again, I am not in any way trying to be argumentative. I think if the process was as unfair as that email is trying to lead you to believe, once the party found that they were not going to be the first selection, then this process would have stopped, or we would
But
have
you were
dealt with it
leading me
long
yesterday
ago.
as though
It's
the other
not-
group was the first selection.
It's not
so
accurate. Go ahead.
Commissioner, I want to be sure that our record is clear. The statements that are made in that letter are not supported by the facts. It's very important that this record be
Listen,
clear.
I get what you're saying, and I'm not going to go back and forward with the attorneys, but what I'm saying is, what you were saying to me in the meeting yesterday does not mean that that was factual. Okay, so
There are documents to back up everything that was
and I'm
represented
probably sure they
to
would probably
you.
say the same thing. They probably have documents to back up what they're saying, but I don't want to go back and forward. I'm just trying to find a way that we can table this and use the time wisely to connect with these groups. I'm just trying to do something really simple.
That's not an option. Once you pick your proposer and we get a
Yeah, you've said
contract
that.
that
Okay.
requires them to meet with your community, at that time you can do that.
Okay.
I've got Commissioner Moss.
Since being elected to this commission in 2014, I mean, we've seen a lot that's gone on in this city, particularly when it comes to the beach and other developments, both in the east and the northwest. But almost every time something like this happens and we come down sort of to the final decision, there's always a motion to table. And I don't think it's a motion to table. I think it's a motion to destroy, to stop, to throw a wrench into the works. So I've seen this happen more times than I can count. So I would just like to share that information with my colleagues. This happens frequently. Secondly, there isn't a person in City Hall who I respect more than Suzette Sybil for her intelligence, her integrity, and her financial knowledge. And what Suzette told me just a couple of minutes ago really weighs very heavy with me. I think she absolutely knows what she's talking about. She's an honest, fair person, and I put a great deal of stock in what Suzette has to say about this deal. And again, I think these are just tactics to stop us from moving forward. A couple of weeks, a couple of meetings, if they take place at all, if people attend at all, are not going to change anything. So I would not support the motion to postpone.
Very good. I've got Commissioner Fournier, then we've got Commissioner Segerson-Eden.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo what Commissioner Moss said about Suzette. But at a certain point, this will always feel like a leap of faith. You have to take that step. So if we select Roca Point tonight, when can they meet with the community in process-wise? Is that they can meet shortly after, or?
Who wants to? Cassandra?
They actually have someone on staff that specializes in their community engagement. Although they haven't shared it with us, I am thinking, based on how prepared they have been in every other aspect and thinking of things that we haven't, they probably already have a strategy and a plan in place. but because they were not selected and that's not something we asked for them to share with us at this point, I can't commit to exactly what that plan might be, but I don't want to step on their toes if they already have a plan that they have in place. As far as how soon, it depends on when we set our negotiation sessions, well, for the master development agreement, and can coordinate and adequately notice so that all the public would have an opportunity to attend.
I think my question is more of a legal one with the process.
Yeah, we need the master agreement in place that obligates them to do that. From everything that we've seen, they're probably going to be doing their own outreach without that agreement in place. Again, like Cassie, I don't want to speak for them, but as a practical matter, we can't obligate them until they're under contract with us.
But they would have the option tomorrow to decide to work with Commissioner Perkins and have a community meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then our option is, if we don't like what they're doing or they're not doing enough, to not approve the master agreement when it comes back. We have all these options as we go still. This is just this first leap of faith to see what happens. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to withdraw my motion.
Commissioner, I've got.
Before she speaks, I want to withdraw my motion, and let's vote.
Well, I've still got Commissioner Seegerson-Eden next.
Thank you, thank you. For some of us wonks out there, I'd like to know what I was thinking on, and you asked it, Mayor, and mostly it's answered, the difference between a regular RFP or an RFQ and an ITN. What is the Florida statute that lays out the requirements for invitation to negotiate? Please.
287.057.
Say it again.
287.057.
287.057?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. So Commissioner Perkins, so you'd like to withdraw your motion? Very good. Okay. The motion to postpone has been withdrawn. Further commission discussion on the item. Vice Mayor?
You know, I think it's not that we're rushing. I think it's that we've actually, there's no way I would consider this rushing because of how much time, energy, expertise has been put into this. And to not overplay, but to build on the mayor's and others' dating analogy, it's a two-way street too. We have a great partner who is willing to become a partner with us and invest their money, their time, their services. And I really liked that part of their proposal, is how invested they want to be here. I think Commissioner Fournier brought up a really good point about fresh eyes. There's often times when you're so close to a project that fresh eyes, it's not that it changes the whole thing, but it helps you see more clearly. And I think this is just, I can't contain my excitement for being able to move forward on this project and really take an area and create something amazing. And I am looking forward to moving forward, and many meetings with your team and ours, and ready to vote.
I hear you. Yes. Commissioner Moss?
Yeah, the fact that 20 reputable companies did not apply for this, maybe says something about the reputation that this city has with developers. And I think we have to be very concerned that if we do not move forward, if we don't do what we said we're going to do, we're going to find even fewer developers who are willing to work with us. Our reputation as a city, our reputation as an honest partner is on the line here. So I think it's very important that we move forward and do what we said we were going to do. I also very much agree with Commissioner Fournier's characterization of having fresh eyes on it. I mean, so often when we listen to these arguments, it's a lot of the same baggage that's always being brought to an argument. So if we have someone from out of town who doesn't know who's who, what's what their reputation is, I think that's a very good thing, a very good thing. So for the sake of our city's reputation, I think we really need to move forward and act like a responsible partner with this proposed developer.
Very good. Yes. Commissioner Seegerson-Eden?
Yes, thank you. Just very quickly, this area has been laying fallow for so many years, and we need to act now. Or when, or what? I mean, and I'm thankful that we're at this position. I'm thankful for the Roca Group, who is what we are, our guys. That's all I have to say. I'd like to call a question, unless you have something to say, Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, I'm
do.
sorry.
Thank you for all the comments, everybody. And like I said before, thank you to all the developers, the groups who have put forth the effort to get to this point. And, you know, if we award, or if we decide to go forward with the Roca Group tonight, there's nothing saying that they couldn't partner with the related group at some point in time. They're going to need people to build things also. And Commissioner Perkins, I just want to say, I hear you, and I hear your concern for the community engagement. I really do. But, you know, as I said before, I'm committed to seeing this city advance and the Northwest area advance, and I see this as the best opportunity that we have. And I've been waiting for this opportunity for, like I said, since 1998. And I'm looking
I'm
forward
not so
to
sure
it.
if this is the best opportunity, but it is what it is.
Well, it is.
It's about
And that's-
money and power, so
And-
we understand that.
And you know what? I would hope that, you know, I'm hopeful that we'll approve this and reach a development agreement and see success. But the best way for that is to go into this partnership, this dating period that we're going into with a firm commitment that we really want to see it move forward to a marriage at some point in time. So I would hope, and I mean, everybody can do what they want, but I would hope that we could be unanimous in this. This is such an important thing for our city. I know there's reservations on the commission, there's reservations on a part of the community, but man, this is serious. And this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to our city.
Mayor, let's vote.
Yes, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
No.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.